All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Let's Talk About It. We're happy to have you to be back with us again this evening on this Thursday night. Those of you who are watching by Zoom and by Facebook Live. We're here tonight with Pastor Brown, Spread the Word. And last week, this is part two from last week. Last week, we talked about domestic violence. And this week, we're going to talk about sex trafficking. And maybe for some of you who were not on last week, but you're joining us this week, I'm going to give Pastor Brown opportunity to introduce herself, and then we're going to get the show on the road.
All right. Good evening, Bishop. How you doing?
Doing great. How you doing, sis?
I'm doing great. So I am Pastor Brown of Spread the Word Ministries of Kansas. My background is that I have extensive knowledge in domestic violence, sexual assault, sex trafficking, labor trafficking, child exploitation, and document fraud. And I'm also author. I have written and published 5 books, and the first book is entitled On Your Best Day, You're Well Enough to Die. My second book is entitled Don't Love Me to Death When Teenage Dating Becomes Deadly. My third book is entitled The Lord is Speaking, But You Might Not Like What He's Saying. My fourth book is entitled Woman to Woman, A Conversation Between Friends. And my last book is entitled Keeping It Real, The Different Masks We Wear in the Church. And all my books can be found on Amazon. Just make sure you spell my name correctly, Tereasa. And the last name is Brown.
Super. So tonight we're going to deal with sex trafficking first, and then maybe we can talk about labor trafficking. And you talked about a little bit, you mentioned something as far as document fraud. If we have enough time, hopefully we can get a little bit of that in as well. So tell us, if I'm a person that I'm hearing about sex trafficking for the very first time, what should I look for? What should I know about it?
So when we're talking about sex trafficking, I'm going to give you what is the real definition of sex trafficking. And I'm also going to give you a definition of human smuggling, because people try to interchange those, and those are not interchangeable. Human trafficking is defined as sex trafficking in which a commercial sex act is induced by force, fraud, or coercion, or in which the person induced to perform such an act has not attained the age of 18 years old. The recruiting, harboring, transportation, provision, or obtaining of a person for labor or services through the use of force, fraud, and coercion for the purpose of subjection to involuntary servitude, peonage, debt, bondage, or slavery. That's what we have for human trafficking, and that deals with sex trafficking and labor trafficking. And what human smuggling is importation of people into the United States involving deliberate evasion of immigration laws. This offense includes bringing illegal aliens into the United States, as well as the unlawful transportation and harboring of aliens already in the United States. So human trafficking, when you're dealing with sex trafficking and labor trafficking, those are not always illegals. We have a lot of American citizens that are human trafficked and labor trafficked. When it comes to human smuggling, you are primarily dealing with illegals. And smuggling primarily is transportation based, and trafficking is primary exploitation based.
Okay. All right. So what should a person look for, or how does sex traffickers go about finding their victims?
They go about finding their victims on Facebook, on Twitter, on social media, all these different social media sites, and domestic violence shelters and foster care group homes. They have a number of ways of finding their victims. And let me tell you this, sex trafficked victims, it doesn't matter your race, your age, your nationality, your socioeconomic status. It doesn't matter your education. because I have dealt with victims from all spectrums of the track. I've dealt with victims that have college degrees. I've dealt with the poorest of the poor, and I've dealt with the cream of the crop. So a lot of people like to put information on Facebook. You check in everywhere you go. You're meeting people online because they're a mutual friend of somebody else. And the rule of thumb is, if you don't actually know that person, if you have never physically laid your eyes on that person, don't bring them in as a friend. What you have to understand is your traffickers are not your run-of-the-mill people. They're educated. They're very small. Trafficking, sex trafficking is a multi-billion-dollar business. And traffickers are patient. And so what happens is you're putting all your information online. And I want to put this out here, Bishop. People that are trafficked are not just young girls or women. Boys get trafficked too. The younger you are, the more money you command. Let me say that again. The younger you are, whether you're 8, 9, 10, 13, 14, the younger you are, you command more money. Wow. Take that in for a minute. So we put all this information online, and what happens is they start developing this relationship with you online. And you think you know this person. You don't even know if you're really talking to the person whose picture is up there. And that's how a lot of our young boys become trafficked, because they think they're talking to a young girl, and they might even have a FaceTime or something, and that girl pictures pop up, but they're really talking to an old man behind that screen. And people and traffickers do not mind crossing state lines to come visit you. They don't mind getting in your head, getting your phone number, your address, sending you gifts and things, making you think that this relationship is real. And you have to be careful, because you let your guard down. You let them know who your children are, who your grandchildren are, who your sisters and brothers are. And now they can use that as leverage to get you into their stable.
So do they work together, or is it they work by themselves, or they work with teams? How does that work?
Traffickers, they don't work by themselves. This is when I tell you that this is a multi-billion dollar industry. So, and then they don't even call themselves traffickers. They're called managers. So what happens is you're over there in your state in Virginia, and I'm over here in Kansas, and you're my manager, and they will call me what's called the bottom B, because most of your recruiters are females. And those females that are recruiters, they've been with that trafficker the longest. Now they're up in the little age, so they don't command as much money, but they've gained that trafficker or that manager's trust. And so now you're sitting over there and you're telling me, all right, Tereasa, I need 15 girls in my stable, and they have to make $1,000 a night. They can't come in the house unless they make this much money a night. And so I say, cool, I got you. And I go ahead and I recruit these number of young ladies to put in the stable. I learn everything about them that I need to know about them to hold leverage over their head. If they have young children, I make sure I befriend the young children, and then I'll let you know, I'll babysit the children, and you go out and you do your thing. And the minute you want to turn, don't forget, I got your children. I'll kill your children. If you don't do it, I'll send your children out there, but I'm going to get this money.
So it's like they pretty much got your whole identity.
Yes. And so then what happens is, if I get caught, then I can say, well, no, Mr. Jones, he's the one in charge. And Mr. Jones, because you're in another state, you're like, what are you talking about? I don't know her. And what we have to understand, most of the people, whether they're boys or girls or grown women or grown men, most of them that are in sex trafficking and labor trafficking, these managers, these traffickers, they take them through extensive training. So if they get caught by the police, they're very rigid in what they're saying. They're very rigid in how they're answering you. Why? Because they rather lie and deal with and they rather deal with the devil they know, which is that trafficker, than the devil they don't know, which is the people that's trying to rescue them. And it is not uncommon that when you rescue a victim of sex trafficking, that they run back to that trafficker, because it almost is like Stockholm syndrome has set in. Because what people don't understand is this, Bishop, that when a victim of sex trafficking is rescued, you're not rescuing that person after a day of being trafficked. You're not rescuing that person after 2 or 3 days. You're rescuing that person after years of being trafficked. What happens when you rescue a young lady? She's 19, but when you talk to her, oh, I was sold into this when I was 9 years old. My mom owed a drug debt, or my dad owed a debt, and to pay off that debt, he sold me to somebody, and he didn't know that they owed somebody. So by the time this person is rescued or picked up or found, they have years of trafficking. But we look at them as prostitutes. We look at them as whores. We look at them as this, not really knowing that somebody is watching them at all times to make sure that they're out there making that money.
So for our children or young people that's watching, when you talk about putting that information on Facebook, what are they actually looking for? How are they looking for the vulnerable, or?
They're looking for the vulnerable. They're looking for the rebellious. They're looking for the ones that's putting out there, I'm in foster care, or my mom's a drunk, or my daddy's on drug, or they're looking for the ones that they think is easy prey. Now, if they find someone that they don't mind putting in the work, they'll go after them. And what people don't understand is this: most of the times when a trafficker gets a young person, what they'll do is they will dope them up, and they will rape them repeatedly for days on end to break their will, and then build them to what they want them to be. And so you take a young person, or you take any person that has never done drugs, and all of a sudden you're shooting me up with methamphetamine. All of a sudden you shoot me up with all these drugs. I'm high off my mind, and then I don't know where I'm at. So you put that in the mix, and then you put a person being raped repeatedly to break their will, to let them know I'm in control.
So a young lady or young boy, they can be picked up and taken to another state, and within a matter of an hour.
Yes, and this is why, let me tell you, most of our states have a lot of interstates. We can take where I'm at. You have I-35, I-635, I-670, I-7. You have all these interstates, and they can be gone from here, there, everywhere. Because again, they're not working by themselves. And so what a lot of traffickers would do, because let me ask you this: if you see a young 13-year-old girl, 15-year-old boy, and they're all tatted up, and we know tattoos cost money, what is the first thing we think about when we see a young person with all these tattoos on them?
Probably in a gang or something.
That's our first instinct, right? Look at them kids. They ain't got nothing better to do to go get tattoos. Well, what's really happening is that trafficker has marked them, so other traffickers will know that's mine.
Wow.
So they branded them. They call it branding. They branded them.
Whew. What's another tool that they use to come after our young kids? You know, our young kids now, their mind is so geared to technology.
Video games, for those of us who have young children that's all into the video games, there are back doors through those video games. Roblox, Minecraft, that is a popular one amongst our young boys, our 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds, all that. That is a very popular video games for them, and they come in through the back door of these video games. And you have people, because sometimes you can play these games live, you don't know the other person that you're playing against, and they can come through. And every electronic device we have has an IP address. So we are walking tracking people. We have tracking devices on us at all times. And so what happens is they're there. And they can come in and be like, hey, send me some naked pictures. You better send me some pictures right now. I have your IP address. With your IP address, I know where you're at right now. And so the people are scared. These little kids are scared, and they're sending the address, or they're sending these naked pictures of where they're at because they're afraid that the person on the other end of this screen is going to really come for them. So we have to be very vigilant for those of us that have younger children and they like to play video games, and we think, oh, it's harmless. They just playing a video game. But if you have them on live, then guess what? You're allowing them to come into your home because they're playing live.
Ooh. I'm going to give a few minutes for anybody that might have a question before we go too far. You have given us some deep information. Do anyone have any questions so far before we move further? I don't want to rush this, but I want to give you an opportunity to maybe ask a question. Deep information. You have one.
So, do they have a question?
I don't see any in the box. So, and we don't know how does the law enforcement work if you think your child has been trafficked in your family? I mean, what steps do you take?
If you, the moment your child is not where they're supposed to be, call the authorities. Don't wait 24 hours. Don't wait 48 hours. You call the authorities and say, look here, my child should have been home from school at XYZ. My child didn't get off the bus. My child is this old, that old. And you call them and say, whatever social media you need, let's pull up their accounts, whatever the case may be. Because you have to understand, traffickers work so fast that time is of the essence. Time is of the essence. You would think your child might still be in the United States. Your child could be in Venezuela or in another country somewhere. Selling sex is the oldest profession in the world. And because there is such a high demand for it, then there's going to be a supply, whether you want a little girl or a little boy, whether you want a grown man or a grown woman. As long as there's the demand, there will be a supply.
So they can take a young lady and they can send her to somewhere else for, let's say, for the whole summer.
Yes, they can do that. They can do what's called, they will buy you for a season, depending on the buyer. So if I want you for the summer season, I'll buy you for the summer season. If I want you for the winter season, whatever the season may be. Facebook is not the only it's not the only way they get you either, Bishop. Let's say we all got cars. We got to go to the gas station, right? Some of us pay at the pump, some of us going. I always like to tell people, don't pay at the pump, because the gas station workers do not check their card readers, and they're getting, you stick your card in there, your information is being read. It looks legit. It is legit, but they got something over there. Go inside of the gas station, pay for your gas, and not just go inside. Lock your car doors, because it is a known fact that while you're pumping your gas, one person will come and try to distract you. Can I wash your windows? Hey, you got some spare change? And while they're distracting you, then somebody comes around the other side of your vehicle, get in the back seat, and you think you're in there by yourself. And when you pull off, now a person is holding a gun to you saying, hey, you go here, you go there. That is real. That's not a myth. That's not something somebody heard. Those type of things happen for real. When we go places, know where you parked your car, know your surroundings. Most of us just go places, get out our cars, go about our business. We never look around to see what cars are next to us. We never look around the parking lot. When we're in stores, we never look around to see if the same person is in the same aisle as us, if we're being followed. We just go about our day and we do not look at our surroundings. You have to be very, very vigilant with your children. When you out and about, you can't let your children, you go to this section and I'm gonna be over here. No, we're gonna go over here together, because traffic people are in plain sight. They're in plain sight. You can look at, because I do this, you can see some people and you'll say, ooh, 1 and 1 don't equals 2 right here. But sometimes people look at it and be like, hey, I don't see nothing normal. You know, when little kids can't look you in the eye and they're with an adult, whether it's a male or female adult, but they too afraid to look you in the eye. When they're walking with their head down, or you may ask somebody a question, they don't get the answer. That person that's with them has to answer for them. Those are all signs.
That's what I was getting ready to ask you. What are some of the flags or signs that we ought to look for to be able to spot it?
And when you see these young kids, you know they don't have hundreds of dollars to get a tattoo. You know, ask them. Where, how you happen to get that? They may tell you, they may not tell you. And what happens is with our traffickers, they are patient. A lot of people like to put their whole life online. You know, I don't like my mom, I don't like my dad, or this or that. And everything they're saying that's bad about their home life, the trafficker will turn it around and say, you know, if you live with me, you don't have to worry about doing none of that. I mean, I can get you out of that situation. You don't have to worry. You know, sometimes they place females in domestic violence shelters just to recruit those women that's been abused. And so they be like, you know, you ain't got to go back to that relationship. I'm getting up out of here. I got an apartment. You wanna come with me? And guess what? When people tell you stuff that's too good to be true, Bishop, I've told you before, there's no such thing as a free lunch. Somebody's paying for that lunch, whether it's the taxpayer or the person eating it. There's no such thing as a free lunch. So be leery if somebody's always presenting you with gifts. I don't care if you think they're nice. What is your motive behind this? We've had kids taken out of group homes because somebody has befriended them, or they might have gotten pregnant while they were in foster care, and someone has befriended them and has just treated them nice. And because of the situation that they come from, and they've never had no one treat them nice, and they go with this person and everything is all chummy until they have a baby, then all of a sudden, hey, you know, living here ain't free. I've been feeding you. Now you got to pay. We'll watch your child. You go out and you make this money. And by the way, if you do not come back with that, something may happen to your baby, or we might have to traffic your child. Sex trafficking is real. It is real. And if you think it doesn't happen in your town, you are naive and you are sadly mistaken. If you think it's not happening in your city because of the hustle and bustle, if you think it's not happening because you're in a rich neighborhood or a poor neighborhood, you are sadly mistaken. Has anyone on here ever heard of the term lot lizard?
I haven't.
So what a lot lizard is, Bishop, is when you're at a truck stop, and a lot of our gas stations, especially right off interstates, are also truck stops. And so what a lot lizard is a trafficker will be sitting in that lot, and they already got some girls there, and those girls have to go to, they tell them which cab of the truck to go to, and say, you go over to that one, go over to that one. They're being watched the whole time, and they're going to solicit sex from these truck drivers. Those are called lot lizards. They're not doing it on their own accord. Someone is making them do it.
And so somebody's watching all the time.
All the time. All the time. All the time. And so, like I said, we keep these phones on us, and we keep personal trackers on us. For those of us that got iPhones, take out your iPhone. We're about to do a little experiment right quick. It might blow some of y'all minds. Some of y'all might not even care. But go to your settings, and then when you go to settings, hit privacy. And then after you hit privacy, go to location services. And then after location services, go all the way down to system services. And then after you go to system services, hit significant locations. And then tell me everywhere you've been.
Significant locations.
Mm-hmm. Tell me where you've been.
Wow.
Wow. And so somebody will say, well, I'll turn off my location services. Yeah, you can turn off your location services, but all the apps on our phone, what happens when we try to use them? What pops up? Turn on location services so the app can work properly.
Interesting. Didn't know that.
So we're walking around tracking our own selves. Now, for those of you who don't have the anointing and got those Android phones, I can't help you.
So looking at this information here, the history here, so traffickers have access to that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, it is so many different like apps and programs that have like back doors that we don't even realize. We might think, oh, that's just a calculator on my child's computer, but you click that, that might be an entryway to something totally different. Because you have these different, I mean, every time we think that one app is shut down, they already got something in place to replace what that was. And so we talked about being Facebook being our biggest, one of the ways that they look at you. We have to be mindful. A lot of people are putting their whole families out there on social media. That you're putting your kids out there on social media. You don't know what's in demand. And we putting our babies out there, and our babies might be in the bathtub and all that. First of all, y'all stop putting y'all kids out there with no clothes on. That could be a form of child exploitation. That can be a form of you producing child pornography because you're putting a little kid under the age of 18 out there with no clothes on. You don't know who's looking at that picture. So please be mindful of that.
And that picture can go all the way around the world.
All the way around the world, because guess what? Once I put it out there, I can delete the profile, but the picture is out there. The picture is there. And you don't know how many times that picture is being traded, bought, and sold. So you have to be very mindful of that. Be mindful when you're outside and people trying to distract you. Be mindful when you're on social media and people are coming in and they're talking to you like you know them. Be very careful who you befriend in this day and age. Even when you go back to, when you're going to work, or when you go back into the church building, be very mindful and very careful. Everybody is not your friend. Everybody does not have your best interest at heart. And it's okay to be suspect of a lot of people.
So what flags, other than people looking suspicious, should we look for as far as a trafficker?
When you're out in public and somebody calls your name and you turn around, you don't recognize the voice or the person, that's a flag. Someone just called my name and you know clearly that they call your name. They've been watching you because you've been checking in and putting where you're going, and they got your locations and things of that. When all of a sudden they're contacting you Because most times they didn't wind their way up, and now they have your phone number, and they're always texting you. They're always trying to call you and getting you to come here or come there, getting you to cut school, getting you to for it all to be about them. And this is not just for little kids, this is for adults too. You know, how is it that I'll send a car for you, or I'll send a plane ticket or a bus ticket for you. You can come and be with me. We can meet up over here. That's dangerous. When we drive out on the street, you see those little signs that says, call this number if you want employment, no experience necessary. That's trafficking. And those signs are all over the roads. No, want a job, workers needed, no experience necessary. That's trafficking.
I see them all the time, never knew it.
Yeah, that's trafficking. Because let's be for real, what employer puts signs out like that? True. When we have all of these job boards, when we have Indeed and Monster Jobs, and we have all that. A reputable employer goes to those job boards. They don't put those signs out right there. And be mindful going to the massage parlors, because a lot of if you're gonna go to get a massage, go to a reputable spa. Everybody that's going to a massage parlor ain't getting massages. So you have to be mindful of that as well.
When we hear about, and we see it posted everywhere on social media about all of these young girls and young boys missing. Mm-hmm. Now, if they're not being used for sex, what else are they being used for? You talked about
labor trafficking. Labor trafficking is huge. You find it on your farms. It was years ago, and these were American people. And I want to say it was out in, I could have it wrong, Iowa, but it was a farm. They had been trafficked for over 30 years. I want to say you can Google it. Like I said, trafficking is in plain sight. It's when you're talking about our domestic servitudes, people hiring in-house nannies, people hiring maids because they're well-to-do, but then when it's time to pay up, well, you've been eating our food, well, you've been doing this. And when that's a form of economic abuse within labor trafficking. It creates a debt bondage. And so the bill is never paid. The debt is never paid off. They'll take some of your money or all your money. You don't have access to your check. You don't have access to your own bank account. They keep that. You also have the use of privilege, where they treat you like you're a servant. They talk about how they're superior to you. And so labor trafficking is in food service. Like I told you last week, we go into some of our favorite Chinese restaurants and everything, and we be like, oh, the food is good. But if we really looked at their staff, and if we were to follow some of their staff members, guess what? Those staff members are underneath their thumb. They either live with them or those owners supply where they live at. And so that debt is never paid.
And there is probably not enough funds allocated for people out here to find these young boys and young girls when they get caught up in sex trafficking. Because I know here in Fairfax County is a hot spot in the area that we live in, but there's not a lot of officers who actually look into it and follow it, because there's not a lot of money put towards it.
If it's someone in your family, I would say you have to be their biggest advocate, and you have to do your due diligence. You've called the law not looking, but you get on your child's or your parents' social media. You become a detective. You become, be very safe in what you're doing, but you go out there and say, okay, these were their friends. Let me check with their friends first. This is what they've been putting on social media. This is, I sometimes you hear parents, they say, well, I give my kids their privacy and this and that. Let me tell you something, parents. You pay for those phones, you check those phones. They live in your house, there's no privacy. They going out with so-and-so. Even my son that's in college, when he was a senior in high school, Mom, we going here, we taking so-and-so car. I would say, let them drive the car here. I would go outside. I would take a picture of the license plates. I would see all the boys that was in there because if something went down, this is the car they in. This was the license plate. These were the young men he was with. Because trafficking is real.
And you shouldn't be so loose with your phone when you're out in different places, like laying it down.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because they can clone phones. Some of the phones, I know Android at one time, they had a feature, all you had to do was press it up against the other phone and what you needed, y'all could exchange information like that. And a lot of stay off your phone when you're in public. A lot of people are not aware when they're in public because what do you see? They doing this. They walking and doing this. They in the grocery store and doing this. They in the mall and they in the church and they doing this. Stay off your phone in public and be alert to what's going on around you. Nothing is that important that someone can come and grab you or snatch you or bump you or do something and you don't even know who it is because your head is down.
I think a lot of us are guilty of that.
Our heads down. When we're out in the grocery stores or somewhere, you're going in your car, already have your key prepared. You shouldn't be going to look for your car or your car keys and things of that. And guess what? Things happen in broad daylight now. It's no longer, oh, just do this at night. No, they're bold enough to do it in the daytime. So be mindful of that. You have to be vigilant at all times. You have to be vigilant.
So what if we see someone, we know that they are being trafficked. They don't want to be in it. What should we do for that person? How do we, if they're out and let's just say, they give me some type of sign and say they need help or something. What is the first thing I do? I mean, call 911, but maybe when I call 911, I don't know who's watching me while that person is sort of telling me they're in trouble or something.
You can, yeah, of course, by all means, call 911. But if you're in a position where you could say, hey, can you get in the car? Or is it okay if you could get in the car? If you can do that, and then you drive. And I know the first place people say, we're going to take them to a shelter. Make sure the shelter is equipped to deal with human trafficking victims. Domestic violence shelters is no place to put a human trafficking victim. And this is why I say that. As a domestic violence victim, they know their abuser. They know what makes their abuser tick. They know how to soothe their abuser. They know what's the red flag with their abuser. With the human trafficking victim, they're being bought and sold numerous times a day. They don't know their abuser. They only know their trafficker.
I see.
They only know the trafficker and not the abusers because they're being bought and sold multiple times a day. Or if you can, if you have the time, if you can follow them, you know, some pastors, they become real creative. And I know people listening to this be like, if I saw my bishop do that, I'd be so upset. Some pastors, I've known some pastors pay for the girls and they don't sleep with them. They just bring them to their church for those couple of hours just so they can be safe. and then talk to them about getting a game plan to say, hey, if you want to get out of this, you want to get out of it right now, you know, let me know what you need. And sometimes they just talk to them. There's nothing hanky-panky going on, but you know, we live in a culture where everything that look bad to us is bad for us, and we like, nah, Bishop, he ain't doing that. Nah, he cheating on his wife. No, they don't understand the ramifications of trafficking.
So are there hotline numbers?
Yes, there are. And so you have the Polaris Project. And the Polaris Project, it is right out there in DC. And they have a number. It is 202-745-1001. You have the
Hold on one second. Let's see. T, can we get that information put in the chat box, that name and that number, just in case if anyone needs to have this information. Can you repeat it one more time?
So the Polaris Project, that's Polaris Project. Their phone number is 202-745-1001. You also have the
Is that right? Does that spell right?
put it back up there. Let me see.
Can you see it?
No, did she? Let me see. Did she put it in the chat?
Yeah, it's in the chat.
No, it's Polaris.
Okay, one
Take
O.
out one of the O's.
Okay. And that's in DC.
That's in DC. And they have what's called the Blue Campaign. They have what's called the Blue Campaign, and they have a hotline.
Is that all
and that is
in one particular place?
Say that again. No. This is a different one. This is a different.
And where is
hotline.
that location? Where is that?
So the blue hotline is a part of the Department of DHS, Department of Homeland Security.
Okay.
And that hotline, you can report suspicious activity. That is 866-347-2423.
Okay, got that one.
And then you have the National Human Trafficking Hotline. And that number is 888-373-7888.
Okay.
And of course you have 911.
Now, okay, got it. So when you talked about, I want to see if this, how all of these pieces fit together, if they do. When you talked about document fraud, how does that fit in the equation with?
That can be with, a lot of times that's dealing with sometimes when these restaurants or these businesses are hiring people, and these people are stealing other people's identities just so they can get some work. It can be with, again, us just sticking our cards into those gas station tellers or anywhere we put our card in. You know, the holiday season is coming up, and a lot of people are going to be doing a lot of shopping online. Some people are going to be going into stores, and a lot of people don't use cash anymore. If you're going to be going into stores and you're going to be just keep ringing that card up, what you need to do is, before you leave that store, check your account and make sure the stores is only taking out what they said that they charge. Don't wait till you get your statement to have this, oh my goodness, somebody then took all this money from me. No, you be vigilant, you be on top of that. And so a lot of us, we're using these debit cards, these credit cards, and our identities can get stolen like that. A lot of people, a lot of women, we like to carry these big old purses. Do we really need the big purses, especially with the holidays coming up? Just take the ID you need out and keep the ID in your front pocket, not your back pocket. We have to be like really, really vigilant, because it's easy for our IDs to get stolen. A lot of us get our mail and we just rip it up. We don't shred it, or we just ball it up and throw it away, and we put our trash out to the yard. Guess what? Are you looking at your trash once you put it out there? And you don't know who's walking past dumpster diving. And it's like, oh, this is the person named that live here. Oh, this is their address. And we got all this information on our on bills or on mail that we're throwing out.
Any questions that you have tonight as we move forward? This has been some great information. We're trying to empower us so we can be better. We can be vigilant. The scripture says, my people perish because of lack of knowledge. Mm-hmm. And Pastor Brown, you've been doing this for how long?
Since 2008.
And what got you into this field?
Actually, when I got out of the military and I went to school for social work, and I had to do an internship. And my very first internship was dealing with victims of domestic violence. And out of that internship, I got hired. And so I've always been in the advocacy field. And since I got out of the military. And so, and went to school. And so I have been dealing with victims of, like I said, human trafficking, human smuggling, child exploitation, domestic violence, sexual assault. So I have seen the gamut of things that goes on within the violence world of people, within the world of advocacy. I've seen the whole gamut.
Why is it so hard? Two cases, two young ladies. One is out of jail. She went to jail for a long time. I can't think of her name. But there's another one that's in Wisconsin who shot her trafficker. And have you heard about that case?
I've heard a little bit about it. And she got all that time in jail.
Yeah, and I just received some information this week. They had her on a real high bond. They dropped it, and I think she's out, but I guess she's waiting for trial. And why is it so hard, or why is it that some of these young ladies, when they defend themselves because they're being trafficked, and it's still hard for them, they get locked up in return when they're only trying to save their lives? I mean, because a person might say, if they're listening to this tonight, they're saying, if they see the story and say, okay, well, what's the point in trying to fight back if they're gonna put me in jail?
Well, what a lot of people don't understand is you didn't hear about trafficking in 2007, 2008, all those things. You heard about prostitutes. You heard about whores. And so it was, a whore killed their John or something like that. No one ever stopped to look at, oh my goodness, they were being forced into selling their body. They were being forced into making this money. And so at the time, the victims didn't know that they were being trafficked, and the people that was prosecuting them didn't know they were being trafficked. And so now that trafficking is real, now that we know that human trafficking is not just illegal people, because the majority of the trafficking victims that I've seen were all Americans. And so now that the law is being educated, the advocates are being educated, and now we're trying to educate the community, things are changing, but not at a fast pace. And they have always said that when ladies commit crimes about killing men, that our crimes are always more brutal, because most times the victim just want to make sure that they're dead. They've been in that much fear, and so they just snap like that. And so when you talk to some, they're not victims anymore, but when you talk to survivors, some of the survivors will tell you, trafficking wasn't even a word when I was out there on the street. They just thought I was a prostitute.
So as we wind down, we want everybody to understand we've been given some great information. Be careful who you allow to use your phone. Be careful where you lay your phone down. Be careful when you're out in public looking down at your phone, because you never know who's around you, who's watching you. And we need to be careful as far as putting that information out on Facebook. And most of the time, I guess most people think it's no harm being done of letting everybody know where you're going to be. Your next stop, I'll be at the mall. After I leave the mall, I'm going to the bowling alley. I'm going to stop here to eat. So all of that information, people are using to their advantage to get you.
That, and be mindful, especially those of us who have children. Stop putting your family out there on social media. That's leverage for a trafficker. I can use that to threaten you. I can use that to coerce you, because it's not too hard. You didn't already pinpointed where you're going to be at. So it's not too hard to correlate. If you're putting your children here and you telling me your children is about this age, I can pinpoint, okay, they either go to this school, this school, this school, or that school. And all I have to do is go stand outside the school and wait for the bell to ring and see what kids go out and what kids come in.
And that's a spot too, even though we're in COVID-19, but prior to COVID, bus stop is a dangerous place for some kids.
Yes, yes, yes. And if possible, if you're sending your kids back to school and they're getting on the bus stop, if at all possible, you can sit at the bus stop until the bus comes and they get on the bus. Do it. I mean, prior to COVID-19, I would sit on the bus stop and wait for the bus to come, just sit in my car and physically see my children get on the bus. So at least I know, and I'm not wondering, did they get on the bus? Did they not get on the bus? I physically saw them step foot on the bus.
Because you might not get a call if your kid don't show up in school.
Exactly.
And here you go, the whole day is gone. You thinking that your child is at school and they could be in another city somewhere.
Exactly. Because some schools don't call you to the evening to say your child was not in school. And so you have to be very, very mindful of what is going on. You have to be, for our kids that are in school, make it clear cut who can pick them up from school and who can't pick them up from school. Even the teenagers, because I know some schools, if your child is of a certain age, they have off campus for lunch and things like that. You be very clear if they can go off campus for lunch, if they can't go off campus for lunch. You be very clear who can come to that school and sign them out of school and who cannot sign them out of school. Be very, very clear. Because again, our children can be placed into trafficking, or they could be used in leverage for the person we think we've been communicating with, for them to put us in a situation of trafficking. And they can coerce us, they can threaten us, they can intimidate us. And start talking to your children now. If somebody say, if you don't do this, I'm gonna kill your mom or your dad, you bet not tell. Teach your children now. I know you might be scared, but you come and tell us and trust us. We will take care of it, but don't keep no secrets. If you have younger children, please tell them what the body parts are. Pee-pee and wee-wee is not a body part. Vagina and penis is a body part. You tell them what the body parts are so your kids can tell you if they're ever exploited that he made me take my underwear off and he snapped a picture of my vagina. He touched my penis. He took pictures or she took pictures. Why? Because you need to know that. And if they say, well, how do your kids know this? Because I teach my kids what the correct body parts are. No longer is it wee, pee, pee, owie. No, you teach your kids the correct body parts. Because a kid that know the correct body parts, first of all, makes a dangerous kid, and it might back that trafficker up off of them. If a kid, if a 5-year-old is telling somebody that's trying to take pictures of them, why are you taking a picture of my vagina? That might just scare them, because what is a 5-year-old doing saying the word vagina? So you teach your kids to be aware of all the body parts and know what they are.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point. And sometimes we say, well, I don't think they're old enough to know. We'd be surprised what our kids know.
That's right. That's right. Especially if we letting them on video games. If your kid is old enough, you giving them a phone and they swiping and they getting on the iPad and all that, it's time to teach them the correct body parts. It's time to teach them that it's not cute for you to sit on uncle's lap and uncle tickles you. That's not what we do. You tell, you let them know. And stop forcing your kids to hug Uncle so-and-so, hug grandma, give them a kiss. Kids can sense and they know when somebody is not right. And stop forcing your children on these people, because you don't know if these people have done anything to them or they sense anything and they're too afraid to tell you. Come give me a hug. No, my mom want to hug them. Go and get them a hug. No, they don't want to hug you. They don't feel comfortable, and you leave it at that.
Straight up.
That's it. Because we have forced our kids, you go get them a hug, and you don't know if that's the person that's been violating and exploiting your child. And I know they may be family members. You even have to be like, especially when it comes to spending the night, you know, everybody got different rules. My rules, we don't have spending nights. We'll see you tomorrow. We don't have spending nights. But if your child is spending the night, whether it's a friend house, whether it's a relative house, you come back the next day and you talk to them while you were sleeping or before you got undressed to put your pajamas on. Did anybody look at you? Did anybody come in the bathroom on you and said it was an accident? Did anybody touch you while you were sleeping? Were you made to leave your friend's bedroom or your cousin's bedroom and go in the bedroom with somebody else? Did somebody come in the bedroom and get on top of you while you were sleeping? Did you think it was a dream, or did you know that it was real? You question them. So without a shadow of a doubt, they know that, hey, mom is concerned or dad is concerned. But don't just be like, oh, I'm going to pick them up, and you never discuss it. No, you talk. Did anybody touch you? Did granddad touch you? Did grandma touch you? Did uncle touch you? Did your cousin touch you? Because what you have to understand when it comes to little kids being touched, sometimes they're touched by other little kids. No other little kid knows to touch another little kid unless they've been made to do it or they've been made to watch it.
Wow. This has been definitely an eye-opener in so many different ways. All right, we're about to wrap it up. Do we have any closing questions that you might want to share with Pastor Brown? Any information, something that you wanted to bring up that you didn't bring up? You think it might have been a stupid question? There's no stupid questions.
No stupid questions.
Anything you want to ask? Okay. How do I get my granddaughter to be more aware of these games and using their photos?
Create a safe space, first of all, for your granddaughter. Let them know that they won't get it. If they come to you and say, hey, I might have sent a risky picture or something like that, let them know first and foremost, this is the safe zone. What I did with my kids, I created a safe zone. And I said, we can talk about anything in this safe zone, sex, drugs, rock and roll, pictures, whatever the case may be. And you won't get in trouble. But if I find out and I know you had a chance to have a safe zone, that's when you're going to get in trouble. So let them know if they've done anything already that we can deal with it. Just let me know what game you're on and everything. And then let them know, hey, while you're on these games, if anybody is reaching out to you on the game, pause it, stop it, come get me. Let me take a screenshot of it. So when I call the authorities, I can say, hey, these are the messages that are coming through on this game, and I've been playing with this person. See, our phones are a blessing and a curse. So you can say, pause the game, stop it, let me take a screenshot of it, and you save that screenshot. So when you go to the authorities, you can say, look, I was playing such and such game, and this is the messages that started coming through on the game.
Because some of those games, I guess they got, you talked about having the back doors, so they can even bring porn into young boys at a young age.
Yes. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. Any more questions before we wrap this up? I'm going to give Pastor Brown an opportunity to give us closing remarks. And what I need you to do, those who are on Zoom, if you could give some shout outs to Pastor Brown and thank her for these last 2 weeks that she's taken her time to come on to enlighten us and domestic violence, trafficking, labor trafficking, sex trafficking, document fraud, all of these things. And some may think that, well, you know what, this probably wasn't necessary for me. I know everything there is to know. No, you don't. You can learn something new every day. And it's our job as leaders to try and put as much information out here as possible, empower you so you won't be overpowered. So thank you, Pastor Brown. Whatever closing remarks you have, you can give them to us right now as they are thanking you for coming on and sharing this information.
Amen. Well, thank you, first of all, Bishop Jones and your church family, for allowing me to come and give you this information. And what I just want to say, we could never always be 100% safe, but we can take responsibility for what we can control. You know, we can't control that trafficker or that person that wants to violate us, but we can control our vigilance. We can control how we go about our day. We can control our surroundings. We can control what we post out there. And let me tell you something. If you have already posted the pictures out there, they're there. There's no deleting the pictures. There's no taking them down. Don't put any more of those pictures out there. And don't let anyone try to blackmail you into saying, I'll tell somebody that you gave me these pictures. And I just want to say this for the teenagers. I don't care how much your girlfriend or your boyfriend say they love you, and you send a photograph, a nude of you sexting. It's called sexting of your private areas, and you send it to them thinking it's just going to them. You don't know if they're going to use that in the event y'all get an argument. You don't know if they're going to use that in the event that y'all break up. And I just want to say, sexting is illegal in all 50 states if you're not an adult. If you're not sending it to an adult. And I want to put this out there for those that's still on there. If you take a new picture of yourself, in some states you can be charged with producing child pornography if you are under the age of 18. If you send that picture to someone, especially if you send that picture to someone under the age of 18, you could be charged, although you sent it yourself, with producing child. So you produce child pornography. Now you sent it. It could be distributing child pornography. The person who has it on their phone, especially if they're an adult or under an adult, they could be charged with being in possession of child pornography. So you see how it all just goes downhill. So be very mindful, especially you teenagers that think, I'm just sending this to my boyfriend or my girlfriend. They say they love me. You're committing a crime. Sexting is illegal in all 50 states.
And again, once those new pictures are out there, there's no turning
They're
back.
out there. There's no turning back.
But anyway, if a person, let's just say you're sending it to your boyfriend or your girlfriend and that phone get lost or misplaced, so somebody find it, those pictures can be all over in a matter of minutes everywhere.
That's it. Or let's say that you have it and you didn't send it, but you sent it to your friend get in trouble for something totally different, and then they start going through the phone and they see the picture, and then they say, well, who sent this to you? Well, so-and-so sent it to me. Now you pulled into some mess and you didn't even get in trouble, but now you in trouble. So just be mindful out there, be vigilant. I didn't do this presentation to scare you. I just wanted to educate you that sex trafficking, labor trafficking, child exploitation is real, and we have to take control of ourselves and of our children to make sure that they stay safe.
Well, thank you so much for this time. And again, I want to give a shout out to my friend and my brother, Michael Sturtevant, for bringing us together. And you have been a blessing to all of those who've had this opportunity to watch you tonight. Last week, what we had last week about domestic violence, I think is close to over 400, about 400 views. So it's getting out there. We also put it on Facebook, so or YouTube. So if you missed it on Facebook, you can go to YouTube. T, can you put our YouTube information in the chat box just in case if somebody missed it? It's definitely on my page, and it's probably on the church page. That's our YouTube information. And also, before we close out tonight, if there's any particular subject that you would like discussed or you want information on it, please email us. Put the email in the chat box for me, please. And we will make sure we will do our best to try and get the proper people to educate us and give us the information that we need. And so we can never know too much. So again, thank you. I know you have a family, but thank you, and thank your family for allowing us to have time with you and for you to come on and share with us these last 2 weeks. We've definitely enjoyed it. It's been an eye-opener. So we appreciate you. We'll be praying for your ministry, praying for you as well. I know it has to be hard when you see this stuff every day, and it's not so easy to just let it go, especially when you see young people getting caught up in situations, anybody rather, but more so young people. But I know it's probably hard to shake. And like you said last week, you have to have a prayer life and a relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ in order to deal with what you see on a daily basis.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So thank you again. Thank you, those of you who are watching tonight, whether it's by Zoom or Facebook. Thank you for tuning in. Each Thursday, we will be here at 7 o'clock with a different guest each week. So thanks for tuning in. We love you, and we'll see you next week. Good night, everybody. God bless you, Pastor Brown.
All right. God bless you, Bishop. Good night, everyone.